Okay, so after a rather enjoyable, vibrant episode of ECW, we came to comfortably WWE's most boring show, which is of course Superstars, which basically just serves as a giant advert for the other shows, and we did have our traditional 15 minutes of crap filler. Oh, John Cena's throwing out a pitch for the Cubs. No one cares. Yeah, but there are some good matches on Superstars, so I suppose it's not without worth. Anyway, first match of the night was Santino Marella versus Chris Masters, which was god-awful. Oh my god, I'd forgotten how bad Chris Masters was. I really had. He's managed in the second week to remind me that he is fucking abysmal. This was terrible. The main story in the match was that Santino locked in the Master Lock, and Chris Masters took great offense to this, and I was like, mate, seriously, but half the roster uses your move as a boring little rest hold. It's nothing special. Anyway, Chris Masters won with the Master Lock, as you might expect. William Regal and Paul Burchill team up to take on Tyler Rex and Yoshi Tatsu. William Regal and Paul Burchill, of course, I think should definitely become a tag team. I mean, they're going nowhere as singles competitors, and it'd be a good way to elevate them, in fact, as singles competitors, because generally when you're in a successful tag team, you get more of a singles push. JTG, for example, defeating Chris Jericho. So yeah, it wasn't a great match, this. I was thinking when Yoshi Tatsu and Tyler Rex came out, I wish they'd done their theme music in like a tag team theme like Big Show and Jericho have got, because mixing those two theme tunes would just be awesome. But anyway, this wasn't a great match. It wasn't a completely formulaic tag team match. You know, there was a bit where the heel got dominated systematically. So that was a saving grace, but it was pretty boring, really. Main event, Rey Mysterio versus Mike Knox. This was a good match. This was actually a really good match. It was the best Rey Mysterio Mike Knox match by miles, simply because they had Mike Knox playing a different role here. He wasn't really playing the monster heel. He was kind of playing the underdog, which is good, because Mike Knox is the underdog in a match versus Rey Mysterio. So, you know, he was almost treating Rey Mysterio like a bigger opponent than Rey Mysterio is. He was like giving him bear hugs, and he was trying to wear him down, and he was getting frustrated by the fact that he couldn't beat Rey Mysterio. I thought that was really good booking, and it actually made Mike Knox look a lot better, and he did a lot of good things in here. He did a bicycle kick to the top rope, he did a flying crossbody, Rey Mysterio did his stuff, and the end of the match was Dolph Ziggler interfering after Rey Mysterio already had the match won. And then Rey Mysterio manages to escape Dolph Ziggler and Mike Knox. Next we come to Smackdown. We start off with the CM Punk promo. This was a really hit and miss episode of Smackdown for me. Basically, they're making a lot of booking mistakes that they weren't making when the show was really good. Like Matt Hardy as a special guest enforcer, for example. No one wants to see that. The Matt Jeff feud was so dull. No one liked it. Even though Jeff is the most over face in the company, no one fucking liked that feud. It was terrible. And if this is a Matt Hardy face turn, I don't care. I don't care at all. Matt Hardy is a total irrelevance. Anyway, CM Punk cuts a promo at the start, and it's a pretty good promo. It's kind of going over old ground, but to be honest, Punk's heel character is so great that he makes this promo really enjoyable. So I enjoyed that, and then they're about to start the world title match for the first time, but it ends up in a melee for some unknown reason. So Vince McMahon comes out and announces there's going to be a special guest enforcer, which turns out to be Matt Hardy, which once again is another one of those moments where they're like, oh, here's a big surprise, here's a big surprise. Last time it was Chris Jericho's mystery partner, and it was The Big Show. No, your surprises suck. Just tell us who it is, right? Just tell us straight away, it's The Big Show, and we're like, oh, right, okay, fair enough. You know, don't make it a big surprise. Other than that, we had a very good match between Tyson Kidd and John Morrison, a really very enjoyable match between those two. Just as good as their match on Superstars, maybe a bit better in fact. We had Ricky Ortiz get squashed by the Great Khali. Basically, Ranjan Singh was abducted by Kane. No one cares. I mean, for some reason I like the Ezekiel Jackson, Vladimir Kozlov run-in feud, but I don't like the Kane, Great Khali run-in feud. Don't know why. Yeah, I really don't know why. All four of those guys are shit. Anyway, also Ricky Ortiz has been released. Good. He's not Brian Kendrick. I don't care at all. You know, it's not always a bad thing when WWE release people, as some people make out as though it is. Ricky Ortiz was fucking terrible. I'm glad he's gone. We also had Charlie Haas versus Jesse, who's now going under the moniker Slam Master J. This was basically a battle of two jobbers in which Charlie Haas should win because he's the far more talented one, but then Slam Master J is somebody's son and therefore is always going to win. Charlie Haas looked good in this. Jesse looked terrible and won with a terrible looking frog splash. We had the Intercontinental 4-Way, Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, Mike Knox and Finlay. This match was good at points, and then it just totally lost direction for seemingly no reason. You know, there were just points where they were just doing nothing, and I was like, what's going on here? I don't get it. Then we had JTG versus Chris Jericho. This was unbelievable. I cannot believe they let JTG beat Chris Jericho. This was ludicrous. Truly, truly ludicrous. This is one of the biggest upsets ever. This is like Triple H losing to anyone. I mean, seriously, this is ridiculous. And the way they booked it as well, JTG kept getting the upper hand on Chris Jericho, which I was like, well, this is fine. JTG's made to look really good. Chris Jericho wins, eventually. Jericho hits the code breaker, so there's the idea he would have won if JTG wasn't under the ropes. But I'm sorry, that's not enough. Jericho should just win. Jericho should clearly win this match, and JTG wins it with an inside cradle. This was just bizarre. Jericho has a legitimate claim to be one of the all-time greats, and he got beaten by JTG of Crime Time, who's never beaten anyone, ever. I didn't get this at all. I thought this was totally appalling, and JTG was rubbish during this match. You know, I've defended JTG over the last few weeks, but he doesn't deserve my defense here. He was abysmal, he was slow. Everything involving Jericho was great, as you'd expect. Everything involving JTG was fucking awful. Then we had Jeff versus Punk, which was a good match. Matt Hardy interfered at the end and cost the match for CM Punk. Oh, what a surprise. Who cares? No one cares. Seriously, I don't give a shit. I don't care that, oh, what a change in Matt Hardy's character. He might be turning face. He's a fucking terrible face. He's a fucking terrible heel. It makes no difference. So yeah, Jeff retains, and then Punk assaults him rather beautifully, and Teddy Long makes a TLC match for the Bash, that was ages ago, for the Summerfest, obviously. You know, I'll be going to see the Goons. Oh, sorry, it's the Goods. Oh, sorry, how rude. Anyway, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. So yeah, TLC match. I'm not sure I particularly want to see this, because basically we had that ladder match, and there was that big build-up between Jeff Hardy and Edge, and basically Jeff Hardy was rubbish in that match. I mean, he wasn't bad, but we were expecting so much more, and Edge basically outperformed him and did more crazy stuff than him, in my view, so I don't think I really care. It's probably going to be Jeff Hardy's last match, so hopefully he pulls something out of the bag.